Hey everybody, we're just mid-conversation, and the conversation got so good that we just decided to go live. So welcome in. I have Dink Comics with me, and
What up?
yeah, we're just gonna get straight into it. So I'm just gonna pick up where I left off. So what I did for Whack Comics, and we were kind of this kind of transpired from when Dink told me that my comedy resembled something similar to Andy Kaufman, and I had no
Hmm.
idea who he was, and I had to look him up. And then I realized that I did know him, and there's this whole reference. Anyways, Whack Comics, I decided to whack this book. I destroyed it. It's like pages are falling out of it. I only destroyed up to chapter 9 because I still want to read the thing. So hold on, I gotta get the pages back. Anyways, so the whole bit was like it just spiraled out of control. It was on a show and tell show where I always search for deeper meaning and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Where I go, okay, why are we doing this? Like we're showing each week what we picked up from our shop. Like it's like some kind of like, hey, I got this, and maybe you didn't, or maybe you also like it. It's just it's so fascinating, at least the psychology behind it. But it transpired that I was going to get this, and I'm very vocal in the community. Actually, this shop right here that I'm wearing their shirt recently
Yeah.
hired me, and during the interview
Oh.
process, yep, during the interview process, he goes, "I was a little hesitant because I took a look at some of your social media profiles, and I don't want I don't want to have like a bad image given to my shop." And
Yeah.
I this is gonna sound it's terrible that I'm doing this live. I hope he watches this too. Hey, boss.
It's a good
um,
hire.
I looked at him and I laughed like directly in his face,
Hmm.
and I go, I love that we're about to have this conversation because the whole purpose behind what I do is to evoke emotion, to get
Right.
somebody to feel because
Right.
there's not enough feeling out there in the world. And if
Yeah.
I can do something dumb and make you feel something, whether it be anger, happiness, joy, sadness, anything, I've succeeded. Like
Yeah.
that's just awesome. So anyways, I took this limited edition hardcover, and the only thing that's valuable is the slipcase because this is the only
Mm.
thing that distinguishes it from the mass-produced hardcover, which
Oh.
they just
Wow.
re-released. So I can still go and buy the hardcover because I didn't destroy this. What I did do is if you watch on the stream, you'll see that I did destroy this. And
Okay.
there's a backstage where I invited the people on, and I was just like, "Hey, let me show you the little trick that I did." Because I basically threw this into a boiling vat of sulfuric acid and
Yeah.
uh, what was it? Hydrogen.
Peroxide.
Yes, hydrogen peroxide. Jesus, it's just a strong oxidizer. Anyways, so this thing is bubbling, and then I go, okay, so let me show you this other video, and it's me making out of like USPS postal boxes. I made my own slipcase, and you can see on the back or in the inside it says USPS Priority Mail, and I cut out a stencil and I spray painted the teeth on a black one. I painted it black. I threw it into the acid. And it goes even deeper. There was a funding where people were funding me to get the acid because acid is expensive, especially
Yeah.
sulfuric acid. Anyways, or no, I think sulfuric was a little bit cheaper. I think it was like $70 or $30 for the sulfuric and $70
Uh
for what. Anyways, I needed $100. I raised $50, right? And everybody got
huh.
mad at me around the community. They're like, "This guy's raising money to destroy a limited edition book that like people could not get." And I'm like, uh, okay, but like it's deep. Like there's deeper meaning to that. It's not just like it's not a clout thing. It's not a hey look at me thing. I'm a little bit dissatisfied with what this series has done to the reseller market. Like a
Yeah.
modern book shouldn't be selling for $1,000. I don't care like
Sure.
how good it is. But it demands on limited availability exclusivity. Like a number one, like well, this specifically was allocated to like two or three per shop, or four
Yeah.
per shop, or something like that. And I was the last person at my shop to get it. And I back to the job interview. I go, listen, how much money did you lose out on this? He's like, well, I had 30 copies sold. And I go, pre-order sold? And he goes, pre-order sold. And I go, okay, so that should be guaranteed revenue for your store. And you only sold four. And he goes, you lost out on 26 copies of a $69 book. And it blew my mind that he wasn't more frustrated with that. And that's
Yeah.
that's the whole reasoning behind all of this is like I just think that it's a hype book. I proved that I mean I bought it, I could do what I want with it, but at the same time, like I can literally just go buy another one and I'm probably just gonna give it away because I ran with the bit and I it spiraled out of control and now I'm just like somewhere in the middle of it.
Well, a couple of things about like getting a reaction at all. So,
Yeah.
when I first watched Whack Comics, I was like, "Oh, these fucking anarchists, what are they doing?" Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if like visual media can and like audio video media can elicit an emotional response. So, I'll watch fucking Avengers and all the buildings are exploding and I'm
Yeah.
feeling nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's really messed up, So
You're
if I can feel
desensitized.
something, yeah, from you ripping this book that is limited and rare, but the rarity and limited nature of it was manufactured, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this whole thing's manufactured. This is
Yep.
all, and they're playing us in our fear of missing out. So it's also like an fu to that, and I appreciate if you're not hurting anyone, if you're not
No.
actually hurting a human being like Red Room, and
Correct.
you're doing something to elicit an emotional response. I think that is honestly the main goal of art and media is to elicit an emotional response, whether it be good or bad. That's not the point. It's like, are you getting
Yep.
actual, and it speaks to the capacity of humanity really, because I'm as far as we know, we're the only conscious beings that can tell a story and like something that is not real, or something that's not actually affecting you, and it gives you an intense feeling.
Yep. Fascinating. Fascinating that we as a species or as like a mankind or humankind can like what is the significance to like this random book in this small community of collectors? Like it just that our scope just keeps narrowing with every adjective that you add on. It's just a smaller and smaller subset of a group. And like
There's
people would
also
get mad.
yeah,
No, go
yeah.
ahead. There's also what?
Have you heard of the potlatch practice? It's a ancient. It's like a Native American practice in this like Native America or some area, random area, and anthropologists were studying it because it defied logic. Two tribes would get together and they would amass as much shit as possible to show off who has the most shit, and they would amass all their fortunes and wealth, right? And
Yeah.
whoever won the competition of whoever had more would burn it all to the ground. Yeah. So whoever
What?
can prove they had more, it's called the potlatch, and it's
Yeah.
very famous in anthropology. This is like anthropology 101. And
Yeah.
whoever built the greatest fortune would burn it to the ground, and then you win. But the drive to do this at all is
Yeah.
what sustained their economies. It's what pushed their economies. It was
It's
just the drive to win
crazy.
this competition to burn it all away.
That's
Cause,
nuts.
Cause life is all it's just a game. This is all a clown show. We're in a clown show, folks. I think
Yep.
everyone takes shit too seriously. So
Absolutely.
you know,
I've,
I
and
yeah.
no, I just wanted to retouch on the desensitization of like seeing something just get destroyed and you're just staring at it, just emotionless,
Yeah.
just stoic, and you're watching people die on screen, and you're like, okay, like they're not a main character, so I don't care about it. It's just it's so fascinating to me,
Or even
and
horrible world events. You're like feeling nothing, but then
yeah,
you watch someone rip up the trade of something that's killing the children, and you're like offended. You're like
yeah,
you're super upset, but the lives of people lost. Like nothing, right?
yep,
And I'm not even saying like you know I'm not even judging anyone. I'm just saying, like, isn't it interesting? And I like that you're juxtaposing these things and allowing us to, or hopefully, if you think about it a little more deeply, you realize this is sort of a compare and contrast kind of situation where we kind of can reframe things. And
absolutely,
so I'm all for that. I personally, I'm not gonna be ripping up comics, but I appreciate it when it happens. I'm not, I don't hate
It's
it.
and okay, here's something that I found interesting too, because I try to find meaning in as much as I possibly can. Because like if I'm
Okay.
not learning, I feel bored, or if I'm
Yeah.
not like just experiencing, not necessarily like consuming, like just constantly consuming content. I want to learn. I want to create something new. I want to like figure out something that brings me enjoyment and do it
Hmm.
and create it or figure out how to do it if I don't know what I'm doing. I
Hmm.
thought that there was a deeper meaning to everything that they were doing on that channel, and I found myself like asking
Oh.
them questions backstage,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there isn't a deeper meaning to it. And
Oh yeah.
I was attributing to
Oh
all the meaning to it because like I talked to them, I go, Daddy's Toy Chest is like it's a really like it hits hard for me
yeah.
because
Yeah.
like I have a very terrible relationship with my father.
Uh
Um, and as he's walking in the door right now,
huh.
dead serious, he just opened the garage. Anyways, it it was hard for me to do that segment, and I go, "Is this
Hmm.
what it is?" And he's like, "No, we just did it because it's so awkward to say daddy all the time." As
Right.
like grown men saying daddy. Well, I'm not assuming any genders, but I'm saying like as who we are, it's hard. Like daddy isn't something that's built in our culture or our society to say, "Hey, daddy," when you're walking down the street. Like it's not. It's just cringe and awkward in that sense. And
Well,
I
it's
was trying to
cringe
be
and awkward for
welcoming.
straight men to say it, actually, more than anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's extra funny because they're the last person you want to hear that from.
Oh, absolutely. Like my photographer side is I take photographs of basically different kinks. Like I'm fully
Hmm.
immersed in all the like the fetishisms and the it's just it's fascinating to explore those things because it's almost like it's neglected. Oh, there's this beautiful quote that I forget what I was watching. It was Daybreak on Netflix, and and the quote was, "You find beauty in the neglected," because
Hmm.
like, let's say that circumstances permit you that you can't do certain things. You can't buy expensive versions of books, so you buy like cheap things, like things that nobody's ever heard of. And what do I have? Have you ever heard of TKO? I mean,
No.
I buy like cheaper things and things that are more
Hmm.
fascinating because
Yeah.
I find beauty in that, and that's what I can afford. And then when like culture like jumps into the I don't know, I feel like a hipster saying this, like when things get overhyped that nobody was talking about, I lose that nostalgic feeling for it. That the thing that I was like, I like this because it's special and I'm gonna shout it out, and then it gets big and then it gets out of reach, and it's just the same things like other popular culture things. Like we attribute value over value to it. I'm not sure if that
I,
makes sense.
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you could say that about people.
Yeah.
Like you can be the one that discovers this introvert is brilliant and amazing and bring them to the masses, and then imagine that person gets so famous suddenly.
Yeah.
It's not. It lost the reason you love them. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah, getting popular changes that kind of aspect too because you're thrown into a world that doesn't facilitate creativity. It just facilitates the next thing. Like you're popular, so put stuff out there because it's good for your brand, like that kind of
Oh my
aspect.
gosh, that's such a problem with young artists. Actually, they make a hit young, and
Yep.
then they don't know what it was. And they try to remake it, and they try to like feed into the
Oh, yeah.
and then they destroy themselves. They
Yep.
forget how to explore.
They lose
But
their individuality too by trying to grab at the straws that they thought is what made them
oh,
popular.
not just that, just trying to be liked by institutions and stuff. This is a huge thing. I teach a lot of artists is that they try to mold themselves for institutions because they want approval from institutions and foundations and all this shit. But the truth is, they need you to stay relevant. So if you mold yourself for them, that's great, but then you're cannon fodder. The truth is, institutions and all these groups, they're slow moving, archaic entities, and they need the renegades. They need people that are against the grain to stay relevant. So the more you don't give a fuck about them, the more they need you. and then they offer you money just to have you put their name on your thing, but they don't tell you what to do at all. And the more you don't give a fuck, the more likely they're gonna pay you to like shut the fuck up and let you do whatever you want. And not only do I say this theoretically, I literally know like living cases of this happening time and again, of people that just figured, you know what, fuck all of them, and then they do their own thing so hard that they get some sort of fame, and then the institution's like, hey, but hey, you got can I give you like money? We can pay you as an advisor to advise other kids, and if you just put our name in your thing, yeah, you know. And this was a theory at first, but
Yeah.
then I met more and more people that are actually advisors of major institutions that they confirm that this is actually what happens. This is what it really is. And you know, it's the whole journey of like growing up is like realizing like you shouldn't give a fuck what other people think, as long
No.
as you're not hurting anyone, you know.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Within reason, I guess, is what you put at
Yeah.
the end of that.
No, not hurting anyone. Basic,
No,
like intentionally.
yes, yes. Obviously not hurting anybody, but what I'm saying is like, don't give a fuck within reason is what I was trying to clarify.
Well, I think
And
that's the reason. So like
okay,
you know, how far can you go? I feel like you can go as far as you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone
okay,
consciously.
fair enough. Yep.
Yeah, that's why I say that, because I feel like, because otherwise you don't know what the boundaries are necessarily.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
And to me, that's the boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to the viewer real fast.
Oh yes, please. Yeah.
Take a second, back up 1 minute from now,
Uh
because
huh.
the statement that Dank just said requires a lot of unpacking. I'm like that was very well said, and I'm still processing it in my mind. Like I need like a second to like capture it, and that's what the words that I'm saying right now, they're empty and saying go back and check while I actually process it. Holy crap. Like that is intense. Like seriously, like there was a I was just like staring into a void as you're saying this and putting the pieces together. Oh yeah, they want you to be a renegade so that they can
Yeah.
attribute their name to it, and then that
Yeah.
provides you to also keep going what you're doing. But if you cater to them, that's going to ruin your individuality. But at the same time,
And they
they
won't
need
be
you.
interested in you. They won't even be
Yeah,
interested in
the
you.
second
Yeah.
that you're not relevant, you're gone. Your things are expendable. You say on your channel that ideas are cheap. You may come up
Yeah.
with an
Ideas are cheap.
idea, but it may have happened before. You even said that you saw a story, and you're like, shoot, that was my story. Like I would have done it a
Hmm.
little bit different, but the concept is still there, and therefore the idea is cheap. And the advisor thing is just fascinating to me. You have to advise somebody to not get shaped by the institution so that they continue to stay real and follow like whatever their path is.
I think that's a better long-term advice and strategy.
Correct.
Short
Okay.
term, if you just want to get successful, yeah, like yeah, feed the institution what they want, get a little bit of acclaim. But I have noticed that kids that do mold themselves for an institution, they might get a little notice, and then the institution helps to prop them up a little,
Yeah.
and then they enter the marketplace, and no one gives a fuck about them.
Yeah.
And
That's fair. Okay.
I know people personally that this happened to,
Oh
where
yeah.
they got institutional recognition really young from major people. Then they go out there with their second project, and no one gives a fuck
Nope.
because
It doesn't matter because it's not the first. It's not the
it's
first
it's
project that made them popular, and it doesn't
it's
even
not the
relate
first,
to it.
and it didn't resonate with the public. It
Yep.
resonated with
That's
the
what I'm saying.
institution, and they
Yeah.
don't. They're out of touch. They will always be out of touch because they just can't be as cutting edge as the individuals, because individuals are the visionaries.
Correct.
Individuals figure out what the public didn't know they wanted yet.
Man.
And all
I
business
mean, these.
models are based on the past, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's like this weird fallacy. Like everyone's trying to like model to get the next thing, but it's all based on the past. But the thing about a visionary is they don't work off they show people what they didn't even know what they wanted,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why
That's
Hollywood is so like
That's
stupid.
nuts. That's so nuts. And I have firsthand experience of it. I've been acting since I was 10.
Okay, yeah,
And
right, right.
I found myself like in a room just being nervous and fake. Just like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't who I was. I was the main thing that scared me was I would see careers of my friends. Like I would
Yeah.
see them and they get freaking typecasted into a role and they can't do anything else of that. And I was like, I was a very nerdy kid. I was nerdy and scrawny. I'm still nerdy and
Hmm.
scrawny, but like I'm older
Yeah.
now and it's less of, and it's more acceptable, I guess, in
And
that
it's cool
aspect.
now. Yeah, it's a little cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden,
That's-
no, whatever you're doing, I'll tell my story. You can look at, but I desperately like was trying to avoid being typecasted. I didn't want to be
yeah.
the nerd because I knew that it was
Mm.
inescapable. I knew
Okay.
once I was in it, I was
Okay.
not going to get a serious role. I was going to
Yeah.
be nerdy, scrawny comedy guy. And I watched one of my friends do it. He made a buttload of money
Uh-huh.
for about 3 years, and now
Hmm.
he's gone because
Hmm.
he's a different person now. He's older. He's not scrawny and nerdy anymore, and he can't get a role because he got typecasted. And they just wanted to force it because they're like, you need to get successful now. And I'm like, wait a second, but there's a long game here. Why don't we attack it from what I did? I went to college and I fell out of acting because just I couldn't travel from college to an audition and sit in a room for an hour and then go
Right,
back
right,
to
right.
school. So I played the long game. I said, why not attack it from the other side, the creative aspect? Why not start writing, editing, filming, getting like dabbling in all the different lighting, sound, everything. I just dabbled in it. I just constantly, I'm a sponge. I constantly absorb things.
Hmm.
And I'm getting back into acting with like some of the stuff that I'm doing for this. There's the first part of my reel will most likely be the promo that I did for Whack Comics. It's an 8-minute promo and it's a
Yeah.
4-day video vlog of me just rapidly like deteriorating. I filmed it
Hmm.
in the course of 4 hours,
Yeah.
and it's 8 minutes, 4 different days. I messed with lighting. I changed things. Everything is different in the background. My hair's different. My outfit's different. Everything, and I just did it in front of this camera, and it ends with me like as a puddle on the floor, just
Yeah.
a mess. And there wasn't much like I mean, I'm limited with what I am. I'm in the corner of a room in my parents' house. Like I can only do so much, but I'm trying to grasp at straws to keep true to my creativity because I know that once I this sounds so freaking cliche. Once I like cave, then I'm not gonna have my individuality anymore. I could do the stuff that people love to like watch, and things that are like hits for like 15-second clips and stuff that we're only concerned about view count and likes. I don't give a shit about any of that. Like there's something real and organic to me basically having a therapy session in front of 2 or 3 people online and
Hmm.
having the real questions be asked. And I enjoy that much more.
David Cho is a lot about that. David Cho,
Mhm.
even though he's a multimillionaire, he's like, dude, you have a fucking camera. You fucking just shoot it. You just fucking do it, man. Like I don't want to hear
Yeah.
this, like, and like don't wait for people to give you money. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And when he got rich, he actually gave a lot of money to people, and they all ended up hating him in the end
That's nuts.
because I think part of that was like you're enabling people to have a lot of money and fuck up on a wide scale that they're not ready for, and then they
Yeah.
need more money, and you don't want to give it to them, and then they hate you for it. I think that's partly what's happening because
Okay.
I also have I have a cousin that's a billionaire basically, and I'm not saying I could, but possibly I could try to get money from him, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't make it until this stranger gives me fucking money for something. Because then I know, oh, then I made it. But if, um, and in terms of being typecast, I do know. So this is I think this is a little bit of a more nuanced topic.
Sure.
I have a friend, her name's Liana Fink, and she is a very popular writer for The New Yorker. And there's
Okay.
like you can Google her. There's a lot of videos of her. She's young, she's quirky, so she's very like media friendly, I guess. But she's
Cool.
genuinely awkward, like, and she's cool. She's a great person. However, a lot of people don't know she's a Jewish. Okay, so,
Okay.
but when she was struggling and no one knew her, she was told to apply for these Jewish grants, and she really didn't want to be a Jewish artist, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it." And then she got a grant to make a graphic novel, and the graphic novel was a big hit. and then she got the job at the New Yorker. And now no one
Cool.
thinks of her as a Jewish artist. They think of her as a quirky hipster artist, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So she was able to leverage. If you can stay authentic, you can still be typecast and leverage the typecasting power to do something else authentically. As long as you like, because Jonah Hill, right?
Fair. Yeah, very fair.
He was
Ooh, that's
typecast too. Jonah Hill was typecast, right?
fat
And then
comedy guy.
yeah, a
Lost his
nerdy
weight, did a
guy.
drama
Yeah,
role. Yeah, I
completely
know
changed.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. That's a great comparison.
I
Huh.
I used to go to school with Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to smoke weed a lot. Like, but he wasn't Jonah Hill, so I disconnected that it was the same person.
Yeah. Well,
He
you
wanted to be a
also
writer.
look
Yeah.
at the way that you refer to him now. Like you have to say his last name. Like if
Yeah,
I
he
say
was
if
just
I'm
Jonah.
shouting out one of my if I'm shouting out one of my friends, I go, yeah, my friend Cameron or my friend whatever or my like you attribute those kind of things. But when it gets to a certain point, you're like, oh yeah, Jonah Hill. Like we like it's weird. It's weird to like unpack some of that stuff. But please keep going. I just
I
wanna
know.
keep
I
going.
think it's fantastic though. Like, so when I was 18, I had this opportunity to become like an actor too.
Mhm.
I was sort of recognized for my abilities or whatever. And
Yep.
but at the
However
time
they
when I was
spun it to you, yeah.
no, but it was an acting teacher. It was like
Oh,
like she didn't need
cool.
to tell me. She didn't need to tell me that. But
Okay.
she
Yeah.
told
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
privately, like, you can
Never
do
mind.
this. I think you got it. And I've been
That's
told
what.
this again and again from acting professors. Even my therapist told me I'm an actor, and I'm like, I shouldn't be suggesting that, bro. But what was
To
my
your
point?
therapist.
Oh, I didn't take that path. Okay, so she offered me an opening where I could have been in Shakespeare in the Park immediately without auditioning. She said if I just showed
Holy
up,
crap.
and
Cool.
I didn't show up, and I'm part of like and I knew Jonah Hill, and like if things could have went a certain way, and I can almost see this alternate Earth where I did take that path,
That's crazy.
but
Well,
I
everything has
wasn't.
choices. So
I had
yeah.
no wisdom. I had no wisdom. I had very little wisdom back then. I was very insecure. So I suspect there is a version of Earth, another Earth, where I did take that path. I did succeed wildly, but maybe it was like too early. Because right now is like the best time to be like a famous Asian actor right now. Okay, so if that happened
Okay.
like in 2002,
Uh huh.
it'd have gone very differently. I think I would have been offered a lot of cocaine. Like I'd have
Yep.
met a lot of cool people. I'd have probably been a cokehead, alcoholic. Been a couple hits, and then I couldn't get anything, feel terrible, and I like really crash.
Especially
And
in that time too. Like
yeah.
drugs were really
Anyway, point
heavily
is,
prevalent. Yeah.
um, I'm not famous, but I'm very comfortable with who I am now. And if I were to act, and so like people still want me to act or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll know how to handle it now. So
Cool.
you know, there's this fucking idea in the zeitgeist about like make it in your early mid 20s, like where you fucking succeed in your mid 20s, and that's so frustrating when I hear this story
Yep.
because most people make it in their 30s or
Yeah.
not,
I love where this is going. Keep going.
and for everyone that makes it in their 20s, you are not witnessing 100,000 other fuckers that failed miserably, even with
No.
the resources and wealth and connection. There are, for every Lena Dunham, there's 100,000 other fuckers with the same connections, resources that just failed miserably, or they couldn't take it. And even
Yeah.
Lena Dunham,
Oh
I would
yeah.
argue, she's not even happy. Like I saw her colleagues at the time when she was getting famous. They were all recommending her. They wanted me to meet her. Like they knew her, right? Then she gets really famous. Then they all start shitting on her and hating her. And she's obviously, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Oh, she
internalized a
does
lot of
these
that.
things and yeah. The
Yeah, and that's
backdoor
and,
talking or whatever. The backstage talking.
and it's just fucking bullshit. Like I'm
Yeah. It's
grateful
toxic
now that
bullshit.
I didn't. I'm so grateful that it's happening later. I think it's Sarah Pauli too. She says Sarah Paulson.
Yeah.
Same thing. She got famous in her like 40s or some shit, and she's so grateful it happened later because
Absolutely.
she knows she
Absolutely.
probably couldn't have handled it. And
Yep.
getting famous when you don't feel complete yet is very, very dangerous. It is
Oh
so
yeah.
dangerous. It's much better to already feel complete before the fame, because then you could
Or
take it or leave it.
like just closer to that feeling of completeness. Because when
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's pressuring you to do it, you are nowhere near it. And I
Or
could have the same story that you did.
or let's say like not have the emptiness that makes someone feel that cannot be filled. An
Okay,
emptiness that cannot be filled. Like that's the thing you want to.
gotcha. Okay,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
my
on board.
cousin that's a billionaire. He's I think that's how he got $1 billion. He has this hole in his heart that he can't fill, and he's got all this money, but he's still in the same place. So he still wants more and more. Like he has
Which is nuts.
ungodly. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not logical anymore. Like at a certain
Uh-huh.
point, what's the fucking point?
No, yeah. How big does your hill have to get? I mean, I'm going back to the beginning until you burn it down. I mean, it's
Dude.
like when is the victory? Is it when you die? Because then you didn't get to enjoy all the stuff that you amassed, right? You just kept stacking it up as much as you can. Uh,
Well, I think people don't know how to enjoy
I it's so
their
annoying
their
too.
riches. Like, well, for
Yeah.
me personally, I think we've been brainwashed to think that getting shit for ourselves is the ultimate joy, and
Hmm.
I'm under the utter conviction that actually it's serving and giving that gives you more joy in so many ways. And there's research studies to prove this, but
Absolutely.
we've been brainwashed to think it's just for ourselves. I'm gonna bring up the contest just in that spirit, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
I'm
contest,
dealing.
right?
I just spilled stuff on myself. So go ahead.
Oh, that's cool. So we're doing a contest for Sam's Tangled Web, his channel, to bring him to 1K. And there's a link in the description where you like, subscribe, and comment Road to 1K. And you'll
Yep.
be entered. And this is part of also my 800 subscriber giveaway because I'm almost there, and I don't really care. All my giveaways are ClickFunnels now because I
Yep.
realize like that's just so much more awesome. And
And
you
it
can
plays
win
into
this
what you just
slab.
said. Yep.
Yeah, and it went in this slab, which is a 9.6 ASM Volume 2, number 30. First, I think it's the first J. Scott Campbell image of Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's also a newsstand, and it's the first appearance of Morlun, who is a multiverse villain in Spider-Man, who's like after all the
Ooh.
Spider-Men. I believe this is kind of rare. Tonight, this is, and I bought this. I bought this off the stands back in fucking 2001. So yeah, just enter and you'll win this. So you gotta like, subscribe, and comments. Road to 1K for Sam's Tangled Web, and you can win this slab. And if this character Morlun shows up, Ezekiel and Morlun in the whole web of Spider Verse, and because this character is like tied into the idea of Spider Verses,
Yeah.
this comic will skyrocket in value, and because it's a newsstand, you know, it's even more rare. So win that. Go to Sam's Tangled Web and just like, subscribe, and comment. Road to 1K in the description, and yeah, I just sent out 3 slabs today. One for Brian's LCS, hit Brian's competition, the LCS competition for CBC Awards.
Yep.
I sent him a prize that he can give away, and 2 other people I sent slabs. So
For
yeah, I'm just like,
miscellaneous
and
use.
yeah, it's international, whatever. Actually, I had a comic that I had on eBay for a while, and
Okay.
it's like way overvalued. Okay,
Yeah.
like I got it for nothing. I slabbed it. It's not really worth that much, but for some reason, it's worth $1,500 because of some fools bought it for way too much money. So I had it up, and then I sold it for $500 suddenly. Like I had it up for a while, and then 500. I was like, yeah, 500, whatever, right? And the very next day, my friend, she's like, she's going through a lot of shit, and she doesn't have money right now or a job, so she's struggling, and she was telling
Yeah.
me, we're just talking, and she's like, yeah, I'm like trying to live on like She said something like $30 a month for food, and I was like, what the fuck? So
Oh,
she's eating like rice
yeah,
and beans, like New York City, but you know, LA is the same kind of shit.
absolutely.
But the comic book sale happened like midnight the day before, and I was like, hey, listen, let's fucking go to Whole Foods and let's go nuts. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, this comic, it's fucking worth nothing. I shouldn't be selling it, but it sold last night. I feel like that's a message, so I listened to messages from the
That's,
universe. I'm like, so
yeah,
we're
that's
going
a
on a little
parent too.
shopping spree at Whole Foods. I was like, just go nuts, and then if you go over 500 though, you know, then you pay me the overage, you know. But that's a joke. We didn't get close to 500, but we went
No, yeah,
nuts.
that's hard to spend spend that much money in one. Like, how many carts are you filling?
But it was hard for her to take it too because a lot of people they when they do favors or kindness, it's
Yeah,
transactional. See, it's secretly it's transactional.
isn't that a bitch?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
bitch. So honestly, you got to emphasize that I told her like, and you understand this is non-transactional. Like you don't owe me
yeah,
shit, and or I found that if you have a hard time, if people have a hard time receiving, you tell them to pay it forward. You know,
yeah,
don't pay me back, pay it forward, but you gotta kind of get them to promise that they're gonna pay it forward. You know,
man,
like
that's yeah, that's fair.
because it's like too overwhelming and they can't take it. You're like, no, listen, I need you to take it, but just make sure if you feel guilt or whatever, just pay it, just do it to someone else. And when they get confused, you tell them because it happened to you. You know, like
Yeah, well, we have that in our community with AOKs. Like,
yeah,
it's like, I mean, it's hard because we're programmed a certain way to like if somebody gives you something, you give something back. That's like how Christmas works. So, and like you feel like this dread. Let's say somebody new shows up to the Christmas party, and I'm
yeah,
not sure if anybody celebrates Christmas or whatever. I recently, I think this year is the first year where I just messaged all my friends. I go, "Hey, I'm not giving, I'm not receiving, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going about my way. These are tough times. I don't want to force anybody to do anything." And when somebody else shows up, you're like, "Oh man, what if they brought a gift or you brought a gift for them and they were left out?" That's like this weird kind of relationship where it's a give and take when there's not enough giving and there's just so much taking in our culture. Like we're just supposed to take, build up our mountain. It's just it's fascinating to see that. I mean, you said that you listen to messages. I think that's to me. I'm there's
yo,
probably a whole nother episode that we could do of this, just unpacking that. But
dude, fucking yesterday I did a live stream. You know, I did a live stream and then
yep,
but I'm like talking with myself, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to propel this topic, and have the energy, but I'm like, man, I'm not bouncing off anyone, you know. And I was thinking, like, man, shit, I just need someone to bounce off of, someone that's comfortable with being completely like not giving the audience what they want necessarily too at the same time, you know. I couldn't actually think of anyone. I didn't think of you. I didn't put you in. I didn't know you were looking for anyone to talk, to bounce with or whatever, right? So I didn't put you
absolutely,
in, and I was going to bed and I was thinking like, man, if there was someone that like didn't need to give the audience what they wanted or whatever
yeah,
that I could banter off of, that would be wonderful. And then you reached out to me the next day,
it's freaking nuts. It's so nuts.
but
Yep,
I'm not fucking kidding, man. It happened the day before, and then you reached out, and I didn't reach out. You reached out to me, but I asked for this thing from the universe, and then you reach out to me. Like this shit starts happening more and more the more you realize, I think, in my opinion, that reality is not as solid as we think. This is a fucking
I'm
joke.
gonna give you my side of the story and about that much validation. Uh, I was I got about a minute into your stream, and I'm like, dude, half of the stuff that you say when I watch your content, I'm like, how I want to reach out to you, but I just didn't know when. I didn't know what. I didn't know how. I didn't have any answers to those questions. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna send a message. I send the message and it goes, "Hey, do you want to collaborate sometime?" And then you're like, "Yeah." And this is like hours ago. And then all of a sudden we meshed, figured it out, got live, figured out our schedules, and less than a day later we're on a stream going back and forth. But that's the to answer your question, yeah. I mean, I just had a feeling. I acted on that feeling and here we are. So
I know this is like hard for a lot of like
I don't
atheists
I don't
and
care.
shit to believe. No, I understand, but I personally, I want to help everyone like understand this stuff about the universe and stuff. Like
Yeah, why not?
um, and it could be psychological. I think it could all be psychological too. You just put
Sure.
ideas out there, and then you see opportunities more. But then sometimes this happens where I like thought a thing and I wished for it deeply, and then literally like you contacted me. That shit happens later. The
Which
more
is
you
so
start to, dude, I gave a friend of mine that was struggling $1,000 just to like chill out and just like
yeah.
relax, for a second.
Yeah,
And then
reset your mind and stop
and
worrying
I
about
said like,
feeding
and don't
yourself.
even
And
worry about paying me back, right? So
cool.
by the
Yeah.
way, folks, if you're gonna lend money, don't. It's not lending money. You just give them the money. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't. No lending. No lending. Lending is bullshit. Anyway, she. Anyway, I give it to her, and then that same week, I was offered randomly that same week, like a multi-$1,000 trip to LA, everything paid, hotel accommodations, gala events, all this shit the same week, and it was that happens all the time. So like when I get like 500 for a bullshit comic, and then
Yeah.
someone tells me they're dirt ass poor, I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna buy you your fucking groceries for the month or whatever, and I don't know why, but I keep learning. I keep seeing more about the world, doing stuff like this, and I know it's not that easy because people are struggling and they got kids or shit, and or their job sucks. And
Yep.
no, I'm just saying for the general audience, like I know it's like not this easy to just slip into this, but you have to. If you have a little faith, you'll see the beauty of what this is. And if you have kids, it'll inspire your children. If you stop seeing the world in terms of scarcity and like fucking zero sum, your children will stop seeing the world that way too. So it's not necessarily, there's other benefits outside of just the immediate or the personal,
Yeah, no doubt.
or the woo.
I've or the woo. I'm gonna ask you one question. I'm just trying to figure out phrasing because I'm not trying to like offend you. I'm just gonna ask it the way that it came to my mind.
Yeah,
On a
do it.
scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
7.
That's fucking awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't even believe in 10, 10. Like I was so I do a crazy wisdom practice too.
Yeah.
Which is like based in Tibetan philosophy of sort of you go all out instead of like judging people for whatever, you try
Yeah.
it yourself, and then you see what it is. You see it for what it is, and then you don't
That's a
do it, right? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
This is a great transition for my next question. So
So
yeah,
I'm
go
like
for it.
I'm a super monogamous type of person, and I had a lot of guy friends or like good looking dude friends, and they would sleep with like hundreds of people, and I was like pretty sure that was a bad idea. But I'm
Yeah.
like
Well,
fuck, but I didn't do it, right? So do I know what I'm talking about? So I had a year where I was like a whore. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna be a whore for a year, and I met tons of women and beautiful. And then one night I sleep with like 3 women in one day, And I'm not lying to anyone. I'm being very open about everything,
yeah.
and I feel so empty, like so beyond empty that I'm like, oh yeah, this is fucked. I don't want this, and then I stopped. And
But you experienced it.
but I experienced it before I judge it, and instead of
Yeah.
judging it, I understand it. So it's like, because the more you judge shit as right or wrong, the
Absolutely.
truth is the harder it is on yourself, because then You have to be fucking perfect. If the harder you judge, the more you have to be perfect. And the less you
That's fair.
judge,
Yeah, that's fair.
the easier you are on yourself actually. So it's actually it's not even about other people, it's about yourself. The less you
Correct.
judge, the easier you are on yourself. And oh, even with Bitcoin too.
Uh-huh.
I in finance people, I tried Bitcoin. I made a
Yeah.
butt ton of money and it felt so good that I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this feels too good. This feels like 10 out of 10." And I was like, "Oh, now I understand why finance people look down on, underprivileged people because to them, they're like, you just got to learn, have some
Yeah.
basic knowledge you can find on the internet and then you could get rich." That's the concept, right?
Go out there and
And I
make your money. Insider
and I
trading.
started to emotionally understand where they're coming from,
Hmm.
but it felt too good. So even my nervous system feeling too good, I don't like that, right? Because I'm all about middle way.
Okay.
So it felt wrong. I was like, oh, man, I'm profiting way too much. I'm gonna set an end date, and I knew I was listening to my body. I'm like, it feels too good. All right, end date, and I picked an end date on the calendar. I was like, I'm cashing out this day. And everyone's like, really? I was like, yeah. And I cashed out, and I paid for a trip to help people with the ceremony. I paid for a retreat for a bunch of people.
Okay.
And then the market crashed like the next week, 30%. There was a 30% correction a week later, and I was like, wow, because
You're
10
not
is
that damn
10
lucky.
is no good. 10 is
Yeah.
heroin too.
Yeah.
10 is
Yeah.
heroin.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a 10 cuz I'm fucking smacked down on heroin all day, like
Yeah.
you can do that, but it's better to be middle way, yo. That's it, in my opinion. Like,
No, I'm with you on it. Holy crap. Okay. To answer my own question, I'm about a five. Very
5, okay.
self-cognizant. Very
Mhm.
self-cognizant of me being at a five. But that's
Mhm.
just because of anxiety. Anxiety sucks. For all of you who out for all of you who are out there that have anxiety, you're not alone. Tons of people struggle with it every day. I was getting my hair cut once and I just
Mhm.
like I couldn't see and I was just having an anxiety attack. Perfect time for it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's just like uh I just wanted to give my answer, but there's some things that I want to address that you went over. Um the most recent relationship that I was in was a polyamorous relationship.
Mhm.
And it took me about 6 months to deprogram myself
Mm.
to accept that that can be a reality for me. And
Yeah.
it was fascinating. And like it happened like during COVID. So like the polyamorous aspect of it never happened, but I accepted it. And
Mhm.
it's just like it was a weird like deprogramming in that sense. And the same thing kind of applies to religion. I'm trying to lump everything that I was trying to reference and try to make it flow a little bit
Mm.
better. Uh, I've gone out and I've experienced about like 10 different religions, and I've just
Yeah.
gone and I've immersed myself in them. Like we're talking Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, uh, Jehovah Witness, Mormonism. There's a bunch of other sects of different Christianity, but I kind of lump them into one. There's like four or five of them.
Well, that's
So like,
fascinating. You
I
pursued Jehovah's Witnesses and
absolutely. And
Mormonism, yeah.
yep, I went out. The well, Mormonism came to me.
Mhm.
Uh, Christianity, I went out to get.
Yeah.
Catholicism was a neighbor. Jehovah Witness was actually a neighbor as well, where I just sat down. And I go, hey, I know that you're a Jehovah Witness.
Yeah.
I wanna know more. Tell me about it. And sat down at a cafe, had a meal together, broke the
Mhm.
proverbial bread,
Right.
and talked about everything,
Yeah.
and pursued it even further. And each one, I found myself empty and confused and having
Yeah.
more questions than not. And I was just like
Yeah.
fascinated. But then like with each one, I would like pluck out something that was super enjoyable and
Sure.
super
Mhm.
well worth it and meaningful. And it just like I became a more, in my opinion, and this is just like what I feel, and that's something that you can't take away from me, is I felt more complete because
Yeah.
I was taking the good out of everything that
Yeah.
was good to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I combined it into like my own super religion that you could join by going to www.whogivesAfuck.com. Send me a bunch of money,
Mm.
blah blah blah. But yeah, it was cool, and I learned so much, and I found flaws, and I asked questions that weren't supposed to be asked, and it came from an interesting aspect. I don't know where I am now. I'm not like participating in any kind of religious thing.
Yeah.
There's a cool podcast that I supported called the How to Heretic, which was
Mm.
just fascinating to me. And they systematically went through every religion as well, and I joined my freaking experiences with that and kind of gathered more knowledge. So
Well, I'm like totally convinced Jesus was a prophet. Okay,
okay,
but I don't think he was God. And I think like the followers after he died, they had to do that to kind of get more followers. You know, they had to make him more gaudy. You know, and
uh-huh.
because everything written about Jesus started 70 years after he was already gone
Correct,
already.
yeah.
You know, and we're
Which
already
is
like
wild.
and like documentation of a year ago is already like shoddy as fuck. So there was a lot added on. And if you look at it like in a literary analysis kind of perspective,
Storytelling, I love it. Yep.
well, this is not just my analysis, it's like other people, but it turns out maybe like Jesus was actually a follower of John the Baptist. Because John the
Okay.
Baptist, there's a lot more data about him outside of the Bible. Like he's already famous outside. Jesus, there's almost nothing about Jesus outside of the Bible,
Okay.
historically. But John the Baptist was more known. And he was part of the priest class, and Jesus was one. It looks like maybe, this is speculation, Jesus was one of John the Baptist's followers, and then John the Baptist was killed, and
Okay.
Jesus like continued the mission, but his perspective was so different because he was dirt ass poor. He came from fucking nothing. So John the Baptist
Okay.
actually came from like a famous religious family.
Yeah.
Jesus was super poor, and he explained the gospels through simple stories that everyone can understand. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what made
Because of
him
his humble origins.
Yes, and that made
Yeah.
him so much more revolutionary because he was a kind of anti hierarchy, you know,
That's fair.
which is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
what Muhammad was about too in Islam. He did that too. He sort of was breaking down hierarchy too, in that time,
That's
in that context.
Islam
And
and Hinduism were next on my list for exploring.
well, I mean, it's the same story. Even Buddha, same story.
Okay.
Fucking dude goes in the woods, desert, fucking wherever. They don't eat for 30 days or more. It's the
Yeah.
same fucking
Yeah.
story,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay?
That's fair.
And
Yeah.
they meditate and they have this tripped out vision that we're all one, so we should love each other.
It's a
And then
good
they go
vision to
out and
have.
they try to spread the message, and then after they die, the people corrupt the message immediately because the message brings so much power, but the
Okay.
message is not about power.
No, it's about being
However,
one.
yeah, but because people are so simple, they turn it into power again, and then religions like end up killing each other. But it's the same fucking story. It's the same people doing the same thing. You go to the woods, you fast for 30 days, you meditate really hard, and you're gonna see the truth of reality that we're one. And if we just loved each other, and that was like the point of evolution. Like I don't know.
It's okay. Number one, it's a good message, but
Yeah, it is a good message, but it gets corrupted. People
yeah,
corrupt it
how can
immediately.
that be sustainable in like a capitalistic society? Like,
I,
there's
I think it's more sustainable now because I think
okay.
um, everything was during the prophets' times. Everything was also still transactional. It wasn't communism didn't exist yet. You know, it was still like master slaves,
That's fair.
transactionalism.
Yeah, yeah, very hierarchical too.
Yeah, but now we're in a postmodern age where we can see through capitalism and we can see like the underpinnings of capitalism and corporatism and different types of thinking that we're more capable today of understanding what it means that we're all one than ever before in human history. I think we're more at the precipice of on a mass scale understanding the wisdom teachings. But because the wisdom teachings have been so corrupted by religion, religion's not going to do it. That's in my opinion.
That's fair.
And
A fair
part
opinion
of
to have.
my channel is to teach the wisdom teachings so that I'm trying to get atheists to understand unity consciousness without having to believe in fucking anything. Like that's my point. Like I think it's possible to not have faith and still understand unity consciousness. I think there's like rational ways to explain it because of our
what's wrong with that?
postmodernist sense of, iconography, ideas, imagery, and science and physics and stuff that allows us to finally, at this moment in time, be able to comprehend the unity without a God.
Seems reasonable, to be honest. Like, and if you come from my perspective, who's explored a bunch of religions and still doesn't have a religion, like, that's it. That's what's wrong with what you just said. Why can't we just be unified? There's nothing. What would you say is a hurdle?
I think the power of that message is the hurdle. Ultimately, so I've been avoiding trying to wear a hat as like a healer and guru. Like,
okay.
Technically, I am a healer, guru, blah blah blah. Okay.
Well,
but
so
I don't.
It just that you're not trying to label yourself as that, or is it not
Yes,
acceptable to
yes.
have that label?
No. I'm trying not to label myself as that because as soon as I label myself as that, I will amass so much power that it may corrupt my ego. So what I'm trying to do is like have my cake and eat it too. Where
yeah, I got you.
I have a fucking comic book channel.
Yeah.
Like I can meet ayahuasca shamans from all over the world, and they're telling me shit, and then I tell them my shit, and they're just like, "Wow, that's incredible." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I have a comic book channel."
Yep.
And they're just like, "What?" I don't understand. I'm like, because I'm not trying to. Yeah, and I'm not trying to teach like rich people with enough resources to go to ayahuasca ceremony the truth of reality, right?
Yeah.
If anyone could read a comic, anyone, right? People from the poorest neighborhoods, people from the most fucking, whatever, right? Underprivileged, read a comic, understand the power of the imagination, and then through that, through the imagination, through fiction, maybe I can help them see unity consciousness for what it is, and it's up to them whether they want to believe it or not, and I don't give a fuck.
Cool.
But if I wear a hat and I'm a guru, and then I don't know. It's just something I avoid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it like afraid of the label of it? Because like that's the same thing that I was kind of expressing with my acting story. I didn't want to have that label. I don't want people to look at me and say and define me by my profession or define me by like who society puts upon me as what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to be. I desperately don't want that.
Well, I think like I think YouTube is a great way to leverage any career in anything. Okay. I think so people want me to be an actor, right? And the reason I would ever act is because people want me to be an actor.
Do you want to be an actor?
I think I could be good at it, and I would want to share the truth of human experience with people, so that they know they're not alone. Like my goal as an actor, if I was an actor, is to be able to express the nuanced truth of reality so hard that another person believes it, and they're in the moment, and they realize they're not alone.
Shit.
But my point to be an actor is not to be loved by everyone, to be famous and popular. Like none of that shit matters. My point is
that's not my point either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're like artist plus. We're not just actor, right? So if you're an actor, that's great, but you're also a YouTuber. You're also an artist. You're a performance artist. You're many things. So
you're putting yourself out there as performance art. Yeah, I totally get that.
No, I'm talking about you. You.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, no, yeah,
So
I'm part of
you're
that as well.
you're
Yes, I'm just
you're
saying. I'm
many
just saying.
things, and then if you're an actor, that's great, and people,
Yes,
but you can also do this other thing, and
correct.
these other things,
I'm with you.
so that you're not like trapped in one label.
Yeah, which
Like,
I'm terrified of. I'm absolutely terrified of that.
in fact, the last like I went to this other retreat, and I was like kind of hiding who I was because I have revealed who I was fully to people, and it like threatened them. Actually, I've noticed this happened before with
Hmm.
there's this like group, and they're sort of spiritual, and but the main leaders like straight white dudes. Okay, so I came in, and they I think they expected me to be just like a fun Asian guy that's like affable, but I ended up being like more powerful than them, okay? And I think it threatened the shit out of them, and they started to shut me out.
Yeah,
So
power and powerful in the sense of like influence, right? Or just like
yeah,
power
in
and
the sense that I actually am very effective at helping people see the beauty of life. I'm like
which
really
is
good at
nuts.
that,
Oh no,
and they hated me for it
yeah,
because they
they
wanted to be
can't
the ones that had the power and the fucking recognition for that. I don't
they
give a
can't take that
fuck
shit.
about power. Yeah, and that's what really threatened them is that I don't give a fuck about the power and the recognition, but I'm better than them at what they think they're doing, you know? So I
Or you
started
bring
to
a perspective that they can't comprehend. I think is another way to put it.
well, part of it is
It
I just don't want anything back. I don't like the
oh,
difference between me and them is I literally don't want fucking anything back. Like
I can relate to that
for
and like
you
different
to
levels too.
realize the miraculous nature of you
Uh-huh.
is everything to me. That's the fucking point. And that's it. I don't fucking want any fucking popularity, social currency, money, fame, none of that for that work, but too
Correct.
many people do. Or they
Yeah, why
want to get
not?
laid by gorgeous women. Okay? Like let's be frank. Like that's what's going on. So and they were threatened because I wasn't trying to get any of that shit. So I hid it. I
Oh
hid it.
no. You're like the
And
worst
then
enemy. You're like their worst enemy. And wait, you hit it? What do you mean you hit
what?
it? What do you mean you
I
hid
would
it?
hide it. I would hide who I was. Like
Why?
because
You didn't
it's
want to
easier
step on
for
their
people
toes?
it's easier for people to accept that I'm just some random Asian guy. It is.
Okay,
It is.
okay.
Generally, it's easier.
I know, I know,
So,
I know.
so I was hiding it. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it was a great thing. But at the
Yeah,
last retreat I was at,
yeah.
they would ask me more questions, and they would realize like I had so much more, and
They were intimidated.
no, no, they weren't intimidated. Many
Okay.
people were asking me, why was I hiding it? They didn't understand, and I was like, oh,
Okay.
it's because this thing happens where everyone gets really threatened, and because if I try to explain, oh yeah, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer, I'm a screenwriter, I'm a comic book writer, I'm a dancer, I'm a poet, like if I actually say it and I'm like good at these things, it freaks
Yeah.
people out because everyone wants to be good at one thing, you know, like or they want to be labeled as the thing, and for someone to be really good at so many things for no reason, for like not to try to be cool, it threatens the shit out of people. Anyway, my point is, you just do you so hard in all the different facets of you doing you, and then acting will come when you want it to, or like when you need it to, and then it can go and come, and it doesn't fucking matter. But um, as long as you're able to present your authenticity, people will want you to act. That's what I found. Like people are like begging me to act because they've never met blah 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 blah. But authenticity,
Yeah.
you know, it's just
Yeah.
like it's so hard to find.
Insert adjective here. They've never met me as this blah 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 and blah blah blah. Yeah, I got you.
Um, I don't know. This I don't know what we're
Okay.
talking about. We're supposed to talk about
No,
Spider
no,
Man, so
no. We've done this entire stream. We've mentioned that comic book once because we needed to
yeah.
for the giveaway. The ticker's been scrolling beneath us the entire time, but the conversation has been just so off the wall. I'm very similar to you in that aspect. The whole like everybody's trying to be a master of one thing, right? Uh, but I'm more of the persuasion of being like a jack of all trades, where if something interests me, I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to be as best or get as good as I can, like possibly do at it, because the list of things that like we're interested in, meaning you and myself, are vast, and some of them kind of overlap, some of them coalesce, but then there's other stuff like my real profession is I'm a plumber, and I just
Mm-hmm.
got a job at a comic shop,
Yeah.
like at 29. Like I'm in search of what is just supposed to make me happy, and who
Dude,
I want to become, and I'm not trying to force any of it. So,
I'm still a barista. Like I'm a multimillionaires offer me money to
yeah,
consult them. I don't allow them to pay me money,
uh-huh.
and I'm a fucking barista making like, like, $16 an hour plus tip or
Yeah.
something like,
I'm gonna
and
make 15 an hour when I have like an opportunity to make like easily over 100, and I'm choosing to live life rather than I don't know,
yeah,
fall into
I feel
line.
like I have a lot of friends that get like very frustrated at me that I'm not more wealthy. Like I'm not even kidding. Like I have a lot of friends that get like really upset that I'm not more. I don't have more money or success
But
because they see it,
what's wrong with just being
but it
having
upsets
the
them.
ability? Uh-huh.
It upsets them because it's breaking the rules.
Yeah,
Like
I feel you.
you can't be extraordinary and not be rich because somehow people equated wealth with extraordinariness.
That's ridiculous. What's wrong
That's what
with
I'm realizing. The more like like people get like actually almost offended that I'm not
Mhm,
making more money.
mhm.
But the reason I love being a barista is because, and I've been offered more money to be like a coffee consultant to just open cafes, make a lot of money. But I don't
Yeah,
want to do that either. I want to be like ground level fucking barista because
cool.
every day people judge me as a failure, right? No, I'm
Oh,
telling you, right? So people see me, they don't know me. They see me as a failure and they
you're
treat me
hitting
like a
so home
failure.
right now.
And
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, I give them their thing, but I get to experience that what that is. Like even though
And
I know
that's
secretly
invaluable.
yeah, I might be extraordinary or not,
Yeah.
being treated like I'm worthless is teaches me so much more than being treated like I'm awesome. Like
Yeah.
whatever, fuck treat like being treated
Defined
like you're
by your wealth.
worthless
Yeah.
even when you're not is to me it just helps me understand the world a lot better and it keeps me grounded, like it
Okay.
doesn't let
Yeah.
me feel like I'm better than people because of my whatever and this and that because I allow myself to be treated like trash and I love it. And I love like letting them treat me like trash and then I like will kind of slip in how intelligent I might be and then
Yeah.
and it scares the shit out of them because they're
Give them
like
a little nugget
holy
of something that you're
fuck, they're
working
like
on.
this kid was that smart and I was treating him like he was nothing like
Yeah.
but I don't do it sadistically. It's just like once in a while I'll be like if they really fucking are too much.
Let's say that they're hypothetically flexing on you, and you
Yeah.
go, "Hey, this is something that I've done," and you drop like a fat name that they like. Or
No, no,
how
no,
would you say
no.
that you go about it?
No, that's not what I do. When people
Okay.
flex, I I enhance their flex.
Interesting. Okay.
I go with them. Like I don't need to bring people into my reality necessarily. I rather watch other people's reality and
Observationism.
make
Yeah. No
and make
problem.
them feel better about their reality. Like that's my main focus. And if they get
I
curious,
share that.
they start asking me about me and then I like slowly reveal it and then they're just like, "What the fuck?" But
I'm sitting on a couple messages where people want to know what I actually do and what my actual
yeah.
hobbies are, and I'm just letting them
Yeah.
sit on it. Oh man,
Dude,
no,
I
I can
mean,
relate to that. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, no, awesome.
um are people commenting on this? No?
What?
The
No, not at
stream?
all. No, this is
Oh.
just us.
But we're live.
Yeah, we've been live
Okay,
for
okay,
an
okay.
for
Just
an
making sure, just making sure.
hour and 10 minutes is almost where we're at.
Um yeah, I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about how when people flex on you, you enhance their reality of their
Yeah,
flex,
because
and you
I don't need to flex. I never need
correct.
to flex.
Me
Ever,
neither.
ever, never.
Yeah.
Like anytime someone needs to flex,
Hmm.
it's they're telling me they don't feel they don't know if they're loved.
Ah, shoot. Yeah, that's true. See,
Every
the
fucking time.
seeking validation
Yeah.
is a big thing.
So I never see that with contempt, you know. I always see that as like this little kid just trying to
Ah,
tell me that
shoot.
they're worthy of love, you know. So I'll play into that. I'll help them. I know I'll feed it and then I'll pivot it a little, but
Yeah.
it's just when you have like infinite compassion, or if you try to get infinite, you realize like there's a reason for everything, you know. And every fucking asshole, it's because they were treated like an asshole. Like they're just
Yeah.
repeating the cycle in their programming, and it's almost not personal. Like it is
It's just what.
personal, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
almost
I know
not
what you mean.
personal because
It's what. It's all they
you just
know.
got in the path of the loop. You got in the
Yep.
path of a self-hate loop,
Absolutely.
and it's inevitable with so many people on Earth.
And then they want to perpetuate, like, let's say that their life, like, they want to perpetuate their misery on other people to make them feel less miserable in that aspect. If you're going around propping people up, like, what happens in that aspect? Like, I guess what's the goal? I mean, the goal is not like I want to talk about myself and I want to be like look at all the things I can do. Like, do you get a level of satisfaction from taking this lonely individual that's opening up to you because of your profession? Like, we're sitting around
Mhm.
consuming alcohol decreases your inhibition, allows you to open up a little bit easier. What do you get from that though?
Um, then I know the world is kinder. That's my only proof
Okay.
that the world is kinder. If I'm kinder to other people and more compassionate to other people, that's my only proof that such a thing exists at all in this
Cool.
world. Cause I
That's a
don't
twisted sense of validation. I like it.
I don't fucking believe it. Like when people are very charismatic and friendly and complimentary, I don't
Yeah.
believe a fucking word. I don't. I've learned a long. I've known since I was 3 years old. Believe it or not, that almost no one says shit directly. Like
Okay.
everything is subtext. And the reason I'm a good actor and good director is because I know the truth is every scene should have a hardcore subtext, and the actual text doesn't mean shit at all, right? And that's how you make a scene mesmerizing, right? Because that's how
Yep.
real life is actually.
Yep.
People say shit, but they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and you got to read through the subtext to see what they're really saying.
The text
Um,
itself doesn't matter, but the deeper meaning is what resonates with people and makes you go back and try to figure out the understanding of it. I'm with you.
yeah, and I don't remember what I was talking about. Sorry.
That's perfectly fine. I wanna bring it back real fast. Is your billionaire? You said cousin.
He's my
What's
age too. We're the same age. So it's even more like, and he wasn't a billionaire. He became a billionaire. So
yeah?
it's fascinating. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I have changed the B with an M, and I have a similar situation.
Uh,
Uh, but what's your relationship like with him? Because you
so
never asked him for money, and I've never asked my person with an M for money.
yeah, and
Uh,
I met fucking filmmakers that are like, "Are you kidding? You're not asking for money all?" And I know
right?
a lot of
Support your
people that are
passion.
personally offended that I
Yeah.
don't ask him for money. Actually, they're like personally offended because they're like, "Who the fuck are you? You think you're too good for asking?" You know, like
I
because
want to know what your
that.
relationship's like.
So back in the day, we were boys, and whenever we hung out, we
Mhm.
would smoke weed and just have fun, right? And then he got caught for dealing herb in college, and he got kicked out of college, right? And then he
Okay.
was a black sheep of the whole family, and everyone thought he was a fucking loser in the whole family, right? But
Yeah.
I was the only one that believed in him. And then he was working in like he was making like porn websites and shit. I was the only one that thought he was awesome, and I believed in him. And everyone else they kept looking down on him, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, he starts one of the first VPN networks. Buys Bitcoin at like $1, okay? And is fucking so rich. And then everyone in the family is like, oh, he's better now. Oh, he's a
Hey,
nice guy.
pal.
All this.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
that shit on him and saw him as a trash, they all pretended like he was cool. And I was like, oh, fuck all of you. I can never talk to him again. Because I realized, like, oh, now everyone's reaching out to him because they want a piece of that shit. So
Absolutely.
I, like, literally just completely deaded communication with him. And then, like, it took, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years before he's like, he reached out to his mom to reach out to my mom to reach out to me. It wasn't even, like, direct.
Holy crap. Okay, yeah.
Because they didn't understand why I was... I don't know what they were thinking. But
It had to have been insecurity, in my opinion. Just based on
not just that, but we had a little bit of falling out, too.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I
like,
don't
we're
know that
boys. He
aspect.
loves me, right? I come home one day from college. He's at my house. I'm like, okay. And he's dating a friend of mine that I knew, right? So he's like, hey, let's go have sushi. So I'm like, hey, cool, yeah, let's do it. So we drive to a sushi restaurant, okay? And we're boys, you know? And I'm the cousin he loves. I'm like his family member that he loves. And I love him,
Yeah.
right? At the sushi restaurant, his girlfriend at the time, who became his wife, she was like, oh, they have no, I'm sorry, Korean restaurant. We went to a Korean restaurant. She's like,
Okay.
oh, they have sushi here. I want sushi, right? And he goes, yo, you're gonna get sushi, but I drove you to a Korean restaurant. Why would you get sushi if I drove you to a Korean restaurant? He's like, I just feel like eating sushi. He's like, but if you want a sushi, I would have driven you to a sushi restaurant. Like, I wouldn't have gone to a Korean restaurant. And she's like, I don't know. I just feel like, and he goes, if you order sushi, I'm gonna get really mad. Right? He said that. And then I said,
Okay.
and I was like, it triggered me because I'm a feminist. I've always been a feminist. So I was like, you know what? I want sushi. And then I ordered sushi, yeah. And he was really pissed. He was very pissed at me, you know. And then when he drove me back home, he drove recklessly. He drove like recklessly to put fear into me. And I was like,
I'm
in my head,
power seat now. Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck you, bro.
Uh-huh.
Fuck you. You owe me a fucking apology.
Uh-huh.
And I just didn't talk to him. And he got rich, and I still didn't talk to him.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a hit. That's a hit.
And then finally,
yeah,
we met again, you know, and it was all love and stuff, but like, he still owes me an apology. I don't give a fuck, like, how rich he is. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just like, you can't be telling people you're gonna be mad. You can't emotionally abuse people. Period. You know, like.
Yeah.
And that woman that he was dating, that became his wife, she's my childhood friend. It wasn't. It was personal. Like, I grew up with her. He didn't grow up with her.
Absolutely. And you were defending
So I was
her.
like, yeah. And her dad died, and I was just like, don't talk to her. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, she wants
Don't
sushi.
tell people
Get sushi.
you're mad
It
at
doesn't
them
matter.
for. I mean, holy shit. I mean, I shouldn't necessarily be talking about this in public, but because this is a story I've never told in public. But
Oh shit! Sorry.
but yo, this
Hey,
but
we
this
still
story
have
is
the option.
it's 100% true. Like,
Okay.
I'm not lying about anything or exaggerating.
We still have the option of not publishing. We're on record
No,
right now.
I don't care.
Okay.
I have nothing
Okay.
to hide. I'm
Cool.
Kristen Bell. You know Kristen Bell, the actor.
No. Do you?
She's in
Goals?
the Good Place.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That woman.
Which,
Yeah. So she does videos openly about talking about her depression and anxiety. And
Cool.
and her video inspired me to make a video about my depression and anxiety.
Awesome.
However, in that video that she made, she talked about after she turned 40, she stopped believing in taboos. Like, no more taboos,
Okay.
you know? And she's like, once I hit 40, I realized, like, no more taboos, just fucking talk about your life the way you want, as much as you want. And if it happened to me, it's my business, and I get to talk about it as much as I want. I believe everyone has a right to say whatever the fuck they want if it happened to them, you know.
Yeah. Why not?
But if you're talking, but just people are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that. People will say there's like a pressure in society to not
That
talk
makes
about
me want to talk
taboo.
about it. That makes me want to talk about it more.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like if my wife tries to like mold me, or I'm like I like tell her in the moment, like, listen, honestly, I want to do it more now. Like I don't,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
no doubt. It makes me go out of my way to try to do it. Don't tell me I can't do something. All you're gonna do is perpetuate the desire to want to do the thing that you are explicitly saying not to do. Like
Well, I
that's
mean, I think that could be related to like dumb people telling us the wrong thing to do, and us realizing that, you know, as we get older. And
okay.
I don't know, cause
I mean,
some people aren't like that. Like I know you're saying you're like that, and I'm like that, but I'm just curious where that comes from. That desire to like say, "Oh yeah, well fuck you, I'm gonna do it harder." Like this fuck
okay.
you to authority. Like because not everyone's like that.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Um, it
I'm
comes.
theorizing. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Go ahead and say what you're gonna say, and I'll still answer
My
that
theory
question.
is it has
Yeah,
to do with us realizing like how authority is so stupid, and deciding like no, that's
absolutely. Okay, yeah,
like
yeah. You're right.
authority
You
doesn't know
hit it
what the
on the
fuck they're
nose.
talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
But
And going back to it, my authority is like my father, and like
but
I'm
yeah,
just so over it. So yeah.
but I try also not to be angry about this stuff too, because
Fair.
I try to understand that he's fucking stupid actually. Like he doesn't know any better because he was raised also super dumb, and then he thought raising you super dumb was the right thing to do.
He's a product of his environment.
How old was he when he had you?
Uh, 30, 60. He was 30.
30. Okay. 30 years
Yeah.
old. Your dad was fucking 30 when he had you. Okay, think about this, okay? He was a fucking stupid kid when he had you. And
Yeah, he
honestly,
was.
when you have a child, your whole world changes. There's a huge shift when you have a child, because now you have to see reality through this child too at the same time.
Correct.
And a part of you dies then, or stays that age. So part of your dad is
You speak
30
on this. You
as
speak on
well.
this too. Yeah,
Yeah,
you say
yeah,
that like you look at them at where they were,
yeah,
and when you address that, you go, "Oh, you're just this same 30-year-old that had a kid at that age," and you personally
yeah,
view them from that aspect, and I think that's fascinating
yeah. I think,
because it
yeah.
gives you perspective.
If you see your dad is 30 and he says dumbass shit to you, you're like, okay. Or even if you have anxiety and your anxiety mind is like, da da, and then you're like upset at yourself for thinking these things, because instead of being upset at yourself and like hating yourself for these thoughts, think the thoughts. Like be like, oh, okay, you exist because of all this fucking trauma, and that's why you're there.
Absolutely.
And the
Yep.
reason you're there is you were there to protect me. But
Yep.
the truth is, you're not serving me right now.
And you're just perpetuating it.
Thank you. No, but then you say, thank you. I
Hmm.
love you. And then that's it. Then you let it go. Like, instead of like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I fucking keep doing this? Happens, and you go, okay, hold on. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I love you.
Uh huh.
I don't need you right now, but I appreciate you. I know why you're there.
It's
And it
nuts. That's
just
straight
gets
nuts.
quieter and quieter and quieter.
Okay.
Instead of being upset at yourself about it, realize the reason it exists, it was a protection mechanism. It's like it was there to protect you in the end, but now you're older, you're wiser, and you know that it's not serving you the way it was supposed to. So you appreciate it, you thank
Very
it,
fair. Yep.
but it's not correct at the moment. And you create these boundaries with your thoughts. You're like, all right, listen, that's cool. I love you. It's like anyone you love that says crazy fucking shit. You're just like, hey, listen, you need to chill out. Or like maybe not talk like this aggressively. I love you, dude, but like, you're driving me nuts. and then your friend's like, all right, that's cool. That's how you should treat your own psyche as well, and your own ego, instead of resenting yourself, or like actually love yourself for it, because you know deeply why it was there in the first place.
Yeah, and you know where you are as a person too. So
Yeah, and love it.
cool. I agree.
No, I mean, this is something I've realized
No,
recently.
yeah, that's fine.
Because I've been dealing with a lot. I've been talking to a lot of people with anxiety,
Oh yeah,
and I
dude,
realized like one of the
anxiety.
things that was happening was they would fucking beat themselves up over it later. Like, why did I think that way? Why am I? What's wrong with me? And they would create this like self hate loop. This is people I've been helping,
Okay.
and I was like, why don't you just like separate yourself from those thoughts instead of thinking you are the thoughts. Separate from the thoughts, and then realize why it's there, and be grateful to it and love it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's definitely a different approach than I do. The I wouldn't say I'm very self-loathing, uh, but it's just like the situation that I'm in is perplexing to me, and I can't figure
Hmm.
out an answer for it. And I think that's what my search is, at least on a personal level. So
Um,
yeah,
I gotta go to the bathroom so bad right
no,
now.
it's fine. Oh,
So
I have a spiel
no,
that I
I'll
can
be
do. Go
back.
for it.
I'll be back.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. All
I
right.
know. Yeah, we're good.
All right.
I have something that I can address while you're gone.
All right.
Uh, so for those of you who are watching this, inevitably, um, let us know what you think, because Dank and I were talking about having kind of like a once a week, go to his channel, go to my channel, go for about an hour, hour and a half each. Um, and yeah, so let us know in the comments, the comments of this video. Let us know what you actually think, and then the comments over at Spidey's channel, uh, Sam's channel. Jesus, uh, do the hashtag for the giveaway. I keep on saying I gotta like it's like the spaces in between words where I want to like insert like or some kind of filler in that aspect. I guess just fill it with breath. I mean, you gotta breathe, but when you say you can exhale. That's all exhale. Um, but yeah. So comment in this video if any of this. This has been all over the place. If any of this resonates for you, and to win the slab that Dank is giving up, and it's all on his timeline. Dank will inevitably just pick a random time and say, "All right, it's cut off." There's no like deadline or anything in that aspect. Just do it as soon as you can. Show some love. We lost a dear member of our community, and we've lost multiple members of our community. But we're choosing this one to do a giveaway. I mean, Sam loves Spider Man, so we're giving away Spider Man, and this is also the title of this is Dig Comics 800 subscriber. We titled it someone else's 800 subscriber giveaway, and yeah, it's for Dank. So sub up Dank too. I mean, I assume if you're my scope isn't that large, so I assume that you're already subbed up to him. But if you're not, shout it on out. I mean, I've been going all over different places, just trying to broaden my horizon and show up on different channels. And yeah, I mean, through the love and sharing of storytelling, try to make the world a better place. I mean, this is what we have. This is what we're given, and yeah, that's about it. That was a good. Hopefully, that was a good segue for everybody as I hear Dink getting back. That was perfect timing. Jesus. I just went
Well, I
over
can't hear
the.
you.
Oh, the whole thing. Okay, then we're good. Then I don't have to recap. So
Yeah. In terms of saying a lot, Barack Obama said a lot.
yeah, like
Actually, Barack
and
Obama was known for saying and
yeah. I just don't know how
um.
to separate myself from it. I'm just
So I
constantly
teach.
feeling
I
it.
teach. I do interview coaching for job interviews, and I teach public
Yes.
speaking.
You would have loved my interview for
and I
the
do.
comic shop.
Oh yeah, and I do media coaching, and I do it for free. But like,
Hey.
I'm not necessarily advertising. If you feel called to reach out to me, I will fucking help you actually for free. So, but so the trick I do or whatever in those pauses,
Yes.
because you were saying exhaling
Yeah.
instead of or exhaling, you inhale.
Okay.
You only inhale. Okay, so in fighting, in fight sports,
Yes.
okay, you're trained to exhale only.
Correct.
Yeah. So when you see it, it's like
Yeah.
right.
I'm very familiar. Yes.
Yeah. But the reason is because during a severe adrenaline rush, it's too much processing power to think of breathing in and out. But they've discovered that if you only exhale, your lungs will automatically inhale without thinking. So if you only focus on exhale, yeah, you'll constantly breathe throughout a fight and you'll win. That's how you win a fight. In public speaking, interview, whatever, right? You're also having a severe adrenaline rush, but you're not moving that fast, right? So the trick is because a lot of times what happens when you have a huge adrenaline rush, but you're not moving, you tend to speak past your breath. Like you're like, and you're trying to catch up to the breath.
Yep,
So in
I got
every
you.
pause, instead of breathing, just only inhale, because then your words will exhale for you as you keep speaking. And if you're like trying to think of something else,
Oh, jeez, that's nuts.
you
Because
just
I've
take
always
the
wondered.
breath in. So
Yeah.
instead of saying "oh," you just take a breath in and you just keep going, because then it will keep you continuously breathing wherever you stop, wherever you pause. You just keep talking and breathing, and
That's
the truth
awesome.
is, and instead of like "oh" or whatever, it sounds like a measured thought. It sounds like you took a measured pause and then you continue your speech, but you're just breathing the whole time deeply, because you only focus on inhaling only, because
Okay.
there's too much adrenaline to focus. So every time you pause, and I think like with a better implementation, we can kind of streamline the process, get different teams together, and that's how I used to approach it when I used to work at this other place. But you do your own thing, you do whatever you want. I
like
understand,
it.
but
I like
I'm
it. Yep.
malleable. I can do what needs to be done, right?
Yeah,
But you
and
don't
that's what
notice
I
I'm
was
fucking
yeah,
just
no,
I'm only
no.
inhaling. Yeah,
Yep.
it's smooth. It sounds it's and it triggers like this ideas of charisma and relaxation, because you're also relaxing because you're taking at these you're constantly breathing these deep breaths. You're naturally relaxing, and a job interview is not about how qualified you are. What they want to know is, can they hang out with you 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for the next 2 years?
Are you
That's
crazy?
that's the truth of a job interview. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I meet tons of people. They're like, I'm not qualified enough. I have to prove how qualified. I'm like, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about your qualifications. They want to know, can they fucking stand you? Honestly, that's really
I didn't even bring a resume to this interview.
yeah.
I'm like,
Plus,
you don't need my resume.
they just need to know you can do it. You
Yep.
you can hang.
That's where we're ending it, man. I want to keep. Oh, personally, I would love to end it there. There's so much more that I'd love to touch upon, and so much things that I'd love to unpack. Like I was. Oh, jeez, I did it. I did it. Uh, if you like the video, let us know. Like I was saying earlier. Shit.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
begging-
Dude.
it takes time. It takes time.
Dude, Obama did it. Obama did it. No one noticed because he knew how
That's
to do it with
true.
style. Yeah.
Yeah, he kept his confidence and kept it going, and I totally
Because-
appreciate that.
Yeah, man, dude, you just be you. I think that's why you resonate with people, because
I hope so. I honestly hope so.
It's
That
'cause
is
you're
that
not-
is the goal.
you're not trying to be liked necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, I used to have content that can make a lot more views, and I know the content I can make to get tons of. I know, right? I know how to game this system.
There is a
I just-
solution. There's an equation.
Yeah.
That you can, yeah.
But I'm not fucking doing it because I'm gonna feel empty over time, you know?
Yep.
I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want, and it might hit, you know? Some of my subscribers, they wish I was bigger, but I honestly, as long as one person is honestly affected because I'm being authentic, it's worth it. Then the whole thing was fucking worth it. I just need one person for it to resonate with.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't fucking agree more. Thanks everybody. Tune in whenever we decide to do this on Dank's channel.